Hi guys, I'm the Tin here. This is a motorcycle tutorial, which I've done before, but not in a while, and YouTube doesn't recommend videos unless they were made within the last couple of months, normally. I had the #1 highest rated, most viewed how to ride a motorcycle video, and it consistently got like thousands of views per day because it was the best how to ride a motorcycle video on YouTube. And then other people just started copying me, making the same video that I made, but newer. And then YouTube, and then at first it didn't work. People kept getting directed to my video because it was better. But new creators complained. They said our videos will never get noticed because you keep sending people to older videos that have more thumbs up or higher ratings. But how are we ever going to get thumbs up or higher ratings if we don't get any views? And YouTube said, yeah, you're right. So they said, from now on, when someone searches for something, we'll put recent videos at the top of the list and high-rated videos that have a lot of views but are older at the bottom of the list or back of the list. And yeah, so I went from like the #1. If you Googled on YouTube or Google or Yahoo or anything, how to ride a motorcycle, I was in the top 3. Like I was at the top of the page. And now I'm nowhere to be seen. Anyways, topic of the video. Let's stay on topic. How to ride in extreme winds. I have literally ridden in hurricanes, typhoons. I've ridden multiple times. There was one time I was riding in a typhoon where it was a bit like too windy. Like every time I ride in a typhoon, it's windy. But I think there was one time where it was physically, not impossible, but physically very difficult. I had to stay off of open roads. I had to stay on side streets where there was houses and buildings to help protect me from the wind. But anyways, we're already off topic again. Let's just stick to how to do it. Because I knew a guy when I was younger. Well, I still know him. And but when I was younger, he had a small motorcycle crash. And I said, well, what happened? And he said, well, I was riding out in the countryside, and a big wind came up from the side and blew me off the road. And I was like, yeah, that's not a thing, okay? I don't care how big the wind is, unless it's like tornado or strong hurricane. Like a weak hurricane, I can go riding all day long in a weak hurricane. I can ride in the eye of the hurricane. But yeah, so unless it's like a tornado or a stronger than normal hurricane, and we don't get tornadoes or hurricanes in Manitoba, Canada. So I was like, I don't get it, man. Like, how do you get blown off the road? Try fucking hitting the gas. But yeah, but the reason why someone who is inexperienced could get blown is because you need to be familiar with counter steering. You need to be able to physically manipulate the bike whenever you want to. Like, look at me, I'm riding in a straight line here, and the road is straight, but if I want to, I can like get the bike to swerve. I can even get the side of the bike to touch the pavement, actually, and like throw up sparks. I'm not doing it right now, but I got to be coming within an inch on either side. And I can do that because I know how to physically manipulate the handlebars. And I know how hard to push to create how steep of a lean angle. And this is important because if I got a strong wind coming in from my left-hand side, coming in from the left, I need to lean to the left to counter that wind so I can continue straight. And in a hurricane, like I've been in winds that were so strong and hitting from the side, if a wind is behind you, all that means is you're saving gas. If a wind is in front of you, coming at you, you're riding into the wind, it just means you got to go a bit harder it just means your top speed's a bit lower than normal. That's it. It's always windy on a bike. When you're doing 70 miles an hour on a bike, guess what? You're riding in 70 mile per hour winds. They just happen to be straight at you or higher, because if the wind is 20 miles an hour and I'm doing 70 into the wind, that's 90 mile per hour wind. I could do math. Now you take that same 90 mile per hour wind and have it come at you from the side. It's still it's always windy on a bike. You just need to adjust your lean angle so you can continue going straight, because the wind's going to push you to the right, so you need to steer against it to go straight. It's just like if you had a car that pulled to the right or pulled to the left. You know, if you're in some car, maybe there's something wrong with the alignment, something wrong with the wheels, whatever. You're in a car, and every time you take your hand off the wheel, the car shoots to the right. So what do? You steer a little bit to the left, and you go in a straight line. Same thing on a motorcycle. Wind's coming at me from the left, I just lean the bike towards the left to counter it, and I continue on in a straight line. And it's funny, like one time I was riding with a group of people, and it was literally during a hurricane, and we're not near the hurricane, we're like fully in the hurricane, near the eye of it, and the wind was crazy. And I remember I was riding at the front of the group, and there was a guy riding at the back of the group, and he said it was so cool because every time we'd be riding down a street, or not a street, we're in the mountains. We'd be riding along next to a mountain, and the mountain would be blocking the wind. But then we'd pop out into a valley or onto a bridge or something, and we'd go from very little wind to extremely strong wind coming in from the side. So we're riding in a straight line, and he's in the back, and he's watching all these bikes and riding straight. And then one by one, each of the bikes would shift to a 45-degree angle and continue on straight. Because the wind would hit me first, and I'd have to put the bike into a deep lean, a strong angle to continue straight. And then the bike behind me, as he pulled out into the valley, would have to do the same thing. And then the bike behind him, and then the bike behind him. And the guy at the very back of the group said it was just so cool to watch, because all these bikes are upright, and then all of a sudden the first bike just drops to a 45-degree angle, but continues on in a straight line, and then the next bike drops and drops and drops, and then he braces for it because he knows he's going to get hit by this wind, and he knows exactly where too, and then the wind hits him, and he just counter steers into it and drops into an angle so he can continue on straight. But if you're unfamiliar with counter steering, a lot of amateur and even experienced motorcyclists don't fully comprehend counter steering or what it's about, or haven't spent time experimenting with it. And this is a whole nother topic. It's one of those things that I don't comprehend. Once I started riding motorcycles, I went out and I literally bought books and magazines about riding technique, and I read them cover to cover a dozen times, and I learned. And that's how I discovered counter steering. I wasn't taught it by someone. I educated myself on but so many people just buy a motorcycle, learn how to ride it in a couple hours, and then their skill level stays there for the next 5 to 10 years. And I'm not even exaggerating. I've met guys, I've had guys come out here who are like, yeah, I've been riding for 6 years, and then we get onto a curvy road and they have no idea how to turn a motorcycle, because all they do is ride in the city in straight lines, and anytime they take a turn, they just slow down to a walking speed, and then turn the bike really slowly because they're scared of turning, and then they go in a straight line again. And then when you put them on a curvy road where you're constantly turning the bike but not turning, you're just constantly adjusting the lean angle of the bike while riding at an accelerated speed. They don't know how to do that. They've never done it. They've been riding for years, and they don't know how to handle a curvy road. So yeah, you can always search for Modeth 13, MORDETH 13 tutorials, or actually I think I have a playlist on my channel, or just M13 and then your question about riding. And I have arguably the most comprehensive tutorials on YouTube. You can check them out. Anyways, that was my video on how to ride a motorcycle in heavy winds. It pretty much, I didn't totally explain how. I just said you need to go watch other videos now on counter steering, and mine are the best, so watch mine.
It's not. I grabbed the phone. You grabbed the phone? Okay, I'll give it to you. Wait.
Uh-oh. Uh-oh.